Hey guys, this is Gw2 and I'm going to be doing a series on leveling, including tips on how to get started, different strategies to level up alts, and a little bit of a Vista guide where I go to all of the zones and check out the Vistas. These guys are going to be revolving around my Guardian, and I'm going to be leveling up from scratch. So let's start with its traits, and again this is theory crafting, so it's not exactly set in stone, but my Guardian's gonna be sort of support, tanky, DPS, mostly tanky and support. Alright, so let's get started, and I'm gonna be talking about traits first. For my build, I'm gonna be using 30 points in Valor, 30 points in Honor, and 10 points in Virtue. I'll explain to you guys the theory behind that build. This build specifically relies on three major things. It relies on application of boons, it relies on usage of shouts, and it also relies a small amount on crit. Crit's going to be very important for the application of boons, etc. So let's get started. I put 30 points in Valor to get altruistic healing, which is one of the bases that makes this build actually work. Every time I apply a boon to myself or to allies, I'm gonna get healed. So since this build is primarily gonna be used in dungeons or some PvP situations or fractals, this is gonna be really great to keep myself and the party pretty buffed up and healed. Okay, Might of the Protector, I'm probably not gonna get much because I'll explain when I talk about my equipment that I'm not gonna really be using a shield. 5/7 toughness is given to you as a bonus of precision. Again, when I talk about equipment, I'll tell you what stats we're going to be stacking, because toughness is going to be one of the stacks we're stacking. So the extra precision is going to be great. Virtue of Courage is recharged when you rally. That's great when you go down for any reason to get started. You could definitely just apply Victory of Courage right away and get yourself back in the fight. Purity is a nice passive condition removal, because I don't think we're going to be having a lot of problems removing conditions with the build, but you can never use too much condition removal. My theory on condition removal is it's basically what gets people killed in the game, because it's the one type of damage that you really can't dodge or move out of. They're usually just shouts that the mob cast, and then or fields that you might run into, and then you have a condition on you and you can't like dodge roll to remove it. So that's usually what kills you. Every other attack in the game can be dodged. Valorous Defense is just making myself more tanky. Let's talk about Honor. Pure Voice, allies affected by shouts convert one condition to a boon. Again, this is giving my party the ability to remove conditions on the fly, because this is a shout build and every single one of my skills is gonna be a shout. Deal more damage at low endurance. Again, I'm gonna talk about this once I get into building it, but I'm going to be dodge rolling a lot, because dodge rolling is going to be healing people. So whenever I get the chance to dodge roll, I'm going to do it, and that'll keep me pretty low in endurance. I'm never going to have 2 stacks of endurance like I do right now. Okay, two-handed weapon skills recharge 20% faster. With my equipment, I'm going to be using two-handed weapons, so this makes perfect sense to use. There you go, Selfless Daring. At the edge of my dog roll, I hear allies. And shouts recharge 20% faster. This is a shout build, so it makes perfect sense. And 5 seconds of Vinegar when you deliver a critical hit is going to be really important, because this build is actually going to have some crit embedded into it. That way every 5 seconds I'm gonna have vigor. So ideally I would like to have vigor up almost 100% of the time. 10% of virtues because of the increased boon duration and the virtue recharge rate. And I'm actually getting vengeful because there's a couple things in the build that give me retaliation, and I want that to last as long as possible. And virtues now apply the following boons. Anything that can give me more boons is great because it heals me. So boons are awesome. And basically guardians are the kings of boons. So alright, so that's my traits. Now let's look at the skill bar real quick. The slot skills that I'm using is going to be Signet of Resolve. Basically because the passive is again another condition removal, which is great. And it has one of the highest healing bursts out of all the other healing abilities, even from other classes. So that's really nice to have. Again, it's on a 40-second cooldown, which is not great, but it's a very nice heal when you need it. I'm gonna reiterate a little bit, and this is a shout build, so stand your ground. Great. I get retaliation, which is gonna last 25% longer due to my traits. Stability is great, and it breaks stuns. Save Yourself is an amazing shout, which draws conditions from nearby allies and puts them on yourself. And every time that you do that, you get all these boons, which is awesome. And Hold the Line grants protection and regeneration to all allies. This is two of the best traits that you could give out to your party that's gonna save their butts, so that's great. Elite skills, I haven't really given it much thought. I will as I start using them a lot, but I believe Tome and Courage is probably gonna be going along a lot better with what I'm trying to do, which is create a supporty tanky build. So that makes perfect sense. Alright, now let me talk a little bit about equipment and what I'm going to be using and how I'm going to be using it. Right now I've been doing a lot of theory crafting, so the equipment I have on is all just PvP equipment with some runes that I am going to use and some runes that I'm not going to use. Mostly I'm going to be going for Knight's gear and Celeric's gear for the rings and accessories. So that's going to give me a lot of power, it's going to give me a lot of toughness, it's going to give me a lot of healing, and it's going to give me a lot of precision. Alright, so precision synergizes very well with the trait that I showed you guys, which is the trait that I showed you, which is Vigorous Precision, which you gain 5 seconds of vigor when you deliver a critical hit. So if you have almost 100% uptime on that. Also, I've been doing some theory crafting, and precision is per point one of the highest damage stats that you can get in the game up until you reach around 60 or 70%. Then it starts getting overpowered by power, because power is like your base damage, and then your crit is actually gonna either do it by 1.5 or depending on how much crit damage you have, which right now I have a crit damage bonus of 50%. So ideally I should have 200% crit damage, so it does twice the damage. So that's perfect. So Knight's gear, I know it says here vitality, power, and precision, but it's actually toughness, power, and precision when you get to the real world. This is fairy tale structured PvE land where you can be a level 80 and not do anything. And then Celeric gear is healing, power, and toughness. So that's a lot of toughness I'm stacking. And some people have asked me, like, why don't you think about stacking some vitality with it as well, since the Guardian has pretty much one of the lowest vitalities that you can find. I will find some places to put vitality. I'm not 100% sure where I'm gonna put it yet, but my ideal goal is to put some vitality in it, although it's not nearly as important as toughness. Toughness is by far the best defensive stat that you can stack right now. Simply because in fractals, all the damage gets reduced by toughness. The only thing that doesn't is conditions, and this build in particular is built around condition removal. Why? Right here, because all my armor is going to have superior runes of the soldier. Superior runes of the soldiers just gives me toughness and vitality, everything I need, and the last skill is that shouts remove a condition. So every time I shout, it's going to remove a condition. Every time I use all of these shouts, it's going to remove a condition, and that's going to help me when I draw a condition from nearby allies to quickly remove them. I'm going to find other ways, including the 2 passives that I have that actually remove conditions. There's also a couple of ways that I remove conditions, which is 2 passives that I have through my trait lines that remove conditions every 10 seconds. So I'm removing 2 conditions every 10 seconds, and I'm removing a condition every time I use shouts. This build was created to remove conditions, so it's really, really helpful in that manner. Alright, now that I talked about the armor, let's talk about the weapons. Starting off, I believe that the best weapon is definitely going to go with the staff, simply because it's the best support weapon that we have. And difficulty choosing between the hammer and the greatsword, I believe I'm going to stick with the greatsword for now, simply because it's a higher DPS, and you get all the good stuff that you need, which is mobility, etc, etc, etc. So I'm going to be sticking with the greatsword for now. Alright, again, this is only theory crafting of the build. As I walk you guys through how I play the game, I'm gonna actually show you guys how the build changes as I go along, any changes that I need to make, and how the build stacks up while leveling up. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign out, and my next video is gonna be a start kit on how to actually play Guild Wars. This is Gw2. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube. You know, give me a shout, comment, guys. I want to know your guys' opinion. I'll definitely be right here to answer it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.